For 42 years, I believed that doubting myself kept me safe. I thought that questioning every choice, second-guessing every decision, and never fully trusting my inner voice was wisdom. I believed that the voice that said, "Are you sure? And what if you're wrong? And maybe you should ask someone else," was protecting me from making terrible mistakes. One day, I discovered it was exactly that doubt that was killing me. And in 24 hours, everything changed. Let me ask you something that might stop you in your tracks. Have you ever noticed how doubt whispers loudest just when you're about to take a step forward? Just when you're about to choose love over fear, pursue a dream over safety, or trust your healing over your illness? It's not coincidence. It's not bad timing. It's your nervous system trying to keep you in the familiar territory of what feels safe, even when that safety is slowly destroying you. Doubt has been programmed into your system as protection. But what if I told you that this protection has become your prison? What if the very thing you thought was keeping you safe was actually the thing keeping you sick, small, and separated from the life you came here to live? I want to share something with you that happened to a woman named Cordelia. She was 57 years old, a mother of 3 beautiful children, successful in her career as a financial advisor, loved by her family, and respected by her colleagues. From the outside, her life looked perfect. But at 4 hours and 15 minutes on a Tuesday morning in March, she found herself sitting on her bathroom floor after receiving a phone call that would shatter everything she thought she knew about herself. Her doctor had just told her that the tests were positive. Cancer, pancreatic cancer, advanced, stage 4, 6 months, maybe less if they were being optimistic. The words hung in the air like a death sentence, and Cordelia felt her entire world collapse in that moment. But it wasn't the diagnosis that broke her. It was what happened next. As she sat there on the cold tile floor, feeling the roughness of the grout against her palms, smelling the faint lavender from her bath salts still lingering in the air, hearing the sound of her husband's breathing in the bedroom next door, she heard her own voice saying the same words she'd been saying her entire life. I should have known better. I should have gone to the doctor sooner when I first felt that pain. I should have trusted that nagging feeling in my stomach 6 months ago. But I doubted it. I told myself it was probably nothing. I convinced myself I was overreacting. I always doubt. I always second guess. I never trust what I know. And in that moment, Cordelia realized something that took my breath away when she told me months later. She said, "Louise, I didn't get sick because I ignored my body. I got sick because I spent 60 years doubting every signal it ever gave me. I trained myself not to trust the most intelligent system in the universe, my own inner knowing. Every time my body whispered, 'Something's wrong,' I told it to be quiet. Every time my intuition said, 'Pay attention,' I said, 'You're being dramatic.' I taught myself to distrust the very wisdom that was trying to save my life. The tears that came weren't just grief for her diagnosis. They were recognition of a pattern that had been running her entire existence. Every relationship that ended because she doubted her worth and stayed in situations that didn't serve her. Every opportunity missed because she doubted her readiness and waited for someone else's permission. Every moment of joy cut short because she doubted she deserved it and waiting for the other shoe to drop. The doubt wasn't keeping her safe. It was keeping her small, sick, and separated from her own life force. If this story resonates with you, if you feel that familiar ache of recognition in your chest, if you're thinking, "Yes, that's me, that's exactly what I do," I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Each week there is a new teaching waiting for you, a new doorway to the life you came here to live, a new opportunity to remember who you really are beneath all the doubt and fear. But right now, as you listen to my voice, I want you to notice something. Place your hand on your heart. Right now. Don't wait. Feel that steady rhythm beneath your palm. That heartbeat has never doubted its purpose. It has never questioned whether it deserves to beat. It has never asked for permission to sustain your life. It simply beats, trusting the intelligence of life itself, following a wisdom that doesn't require thought or analysis or approval from anyone. And yet somehow, we've learned to doubt everything that heart is trying to tell us. We've learned to question the very instincts that could save us, guide us, heal us, love us back to wholeness. While you feel that rhythm beneath your palm, while you connect with that unwavering faithfulness, I want you to go to the comments and share something vulnerable with me. Where do you feel doubt in your body? Is it a tightness in your throat when you want to speak your truth? A heaviness in your chest when you consider following your dreams? A knot in your stomach when you think about trusting yourself? A tension in your shoulders when you imagine disappointing someone? There's no right answer, only your truth. Share it with me, because naming where doubt lives is the first step to evicting it from your body. What happened to Cordelia next became the foundation of everything I teach about the relationship between self-doubt and healing. She spent the next 24 hours with her hand on her heart, feeling that unwavering beat, and she made a decision that her doctors still call impossible. She decided to trust herself completely. Not tomorrow when she felt more ready. Not next week when she had gathered more information. Not after she had consulted with 17 more specialists. Right then, from that bathroom floor, with mascara running down her cheeks and her world turned upside down, she decided that if she was going to die, she was going to die trusting herself. And if she was going to live, she was going to live trusting herself. No more seeking approval from everyone else about what she should do with her own body, her own life, her own soul. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to create a sacred space for what we're about to do together. If you can lie down, please do. If you're driving, just place one hand on your heart and keep your eyes on the road. If you're walking, slow your pace and let yourself feel the rhythm of your steps. We're going to do something together that has the power to change your entire relationship with doubt in the next few minutes. This isn't just an exercise. This is medicine. This is the antidote to a lifetime of questioning your own worth, your own wisdom, your own right to trust what you know in the deepest part of your being. Close your eyes if you can and take a breath with me. Not a polite breath. Not the shallow breathing that doubt creates when it keeps your nervous system on high alert. A real breath. Fill your lungs completely, expanding your ribcage, filling your belly, creating space for life to flow through you. Hold it for a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now release it slowly, letting your shoulders drop, letting your jaw relax, letting your whole body remember what it feels like to be safe in your own skin. Feel how that single breath has already shifted something. Notice how your body wants to release, wants to let go, wants to trust. This is your natural state. This relaxation, this openness, this willingness to receive life fully. Doubt is the learned behavior. Trust is who you really are. Place both hands on your heart if you can. If you only have one hand free, that's perfect too. Feel the warmth of your palms against your chest. This may be the first healing touch you have given yourself in months or years. Your heart has been beating faithfully every moment of your life, approximately 75 times per minute, over 100,000 times per day, never once requiring your conscious effort, never once doubting its purpose, never once asking for your permission to keep you alive. I want you to say something with me. We're going to say it 3 times, each time with more certainty, more love, more trust. The words are simple, but they carry the power to reprogram every cell in your body. The words are, I trust myself and I am healing. These aren't just nice words. These are instructions to your nervous system. They're a new program for your subconscious mind. They're permission for your body to stop defending against constant internal attack and start using its energy for repair, renewal, and restoration. First time, whisper it like a secret you're sharing with your own soul, like a promise you're making to the part of you that has been waiting your whole life to hear these words. I trust myself, and I am healing. Feel those words as vibrations in your chest. Feel them as warmth spreading through your body. Feel them as truth that your cells recognize even if your mind wants to argue. Now say it in your normal voice, like a conversation with your dearest friend, like a declaration you're ready to make to the world. I trust myself and I am healing. Notice how your voice carries more authority when you speak with conviction. Notice how your body responds when you claim your power instead of apologizing for it. And now, say it like a decree, like a law of the universe that cannot be broken, like the absolute truth of who you are. I trust myself and I am healing. Feel that declaration reverberating through every organ, every muscle, every cell. Feel it reaching places in your body that have been tense for years. Feel it touching wounds that have been waiting for this moment of recognition. Pause here for a moment. Can you feel something shifting? You might notice a warmth spreading through your chest, different from the warmth of your hands. You might feel your breathing becoming deeper, easier, like your lungs are remembering how to fully expand. You might sense a relaxation in muscles you didn't even know you were holding tight. Your shoulders might drop. Your jaw might soften. Your stomach might unclench. Some of you might feel emotional, like tears want to come. This is not sadness. This is relief. This is your body finally receiving permission to stop fighting itself. This is the feeling of coming home to yourself after a long exile. All of this is perfect. All of this is healing. All of this is your nervous system receiving a new message after years of hearing that you can't be trusted, that your instincts are wrong, that you need everyone else's approval before you can move forward in your own life. What you're experiencing is your nervous system receiving a new signal. For years, maybe decades, it has been on high alert, scanning for danger, questioning every impulse, doubting every instinct. Your body has been living in a state of constant vigilance because the mind has been sending messages of, you're not safe to trust yourself. You might make a mistake. You might hurt someone. You might disappoint people. You might fail. But when you place your hands on your heart and speak words of trust, you send a signal that penetrates every cell. I am safe to trust myself. I am safe to heal. I am safe to be who I really am. Tiffany, a nurse from Portland, told me that the first time she did this practice, she felt something she hadn't experienced in 23 years. Peace. She said the knot in her stomach that had been her constant companion since childhood, the one that tightened every time she had to make a decision, simply dissolved. She couldn't explain it medically, but she could feel it physically. The doubt that had been eating her alive from the inside was finally getting a different message. Stay with me here. Take another deep breath and feel the truth of what you just spoke settling into your awareness. I trust myself and I am healing. Notice how your body responds to these words. Does your breathing change? Do your shoulders drop even more? Does something in your chest open like a flower turning toward the sun? Does your spine straighten with newfound dignity? This is not imagination. This is not wishful thinking. This is your body remembering its natural state. Doubt creates contraction, tension, illness. Trust creates expansion, flow, healing. And in that expansion, healing becomes not just possible, but inevitable. As this feeling settles into your awareness, as you feel the truth of these words in your bones, I want you to share something vulnerable in the comments. What resistance came up when you said those words? Did a voice say, but you can't trust yourself, or you've made too many mistakes, or this is foolish, or you'll just disappoint yourself again? Tell me what your doubt said to you, because what you're about to learn will transform that voice from your enemy into your teacher, from your saboteur into your guide home to yourself. Let me explain something that Louise Hay discovered after decades of working with people just like you and me. People who had learned to doubt themselves so thoroughly that they forgot they had any wisdom at all. She found that self-criticism is not just a bad habit. It's not just negative thinking. It's the root cause of all dis-ease in the body. Every harsh word we think about ourselves, every moment we doubt our worthiness, every time we question our right to be here, to take up space, to have needs and desires and dreams, sends a chemical message through our bloodstream that says, you are not safe. You are under attack. Defend yourself. The science behind this is remarkable and sobering. When you doubt yourself, when you engage in that familiar internal dialogue of, am I doing this right? What will people think? Maybe I should ask someone else. Your brain cannot distinguish between a physical threat and an emotional one. Your amygdala, the alarm center of your brain, triggers the same fight or flight response that would activate if you were being chased by a predator. Your cortisol levels spike, flooding your system with stress hormones. Your muscles tense, preparing for battle. Your immune system suppresses because when you're running from a tiger, your body doesn't have time to heal cuts or fight infections. Your digestion shuts down because survival doesn't require processing food. Your creativity blocks because innovation is a luxury you can't afford when you're fighting for your life. You literally become less intelligent, less intuitive, less alive. But here's what most people don't understand about the brain, and this is where hope enters the story. The brain is neuroplastic. It can change. It can learn new patterns. It can literally rewire itself based on new experiences, new thoughts, new ways of being in the world. The same neural pathways that learn to doubt can learn to trust. The same synapses that fire together in patterns of self-criticism can be retrained to fire in patterns of self-compassion. But it requires something most people aren't willing to give. Patience with the process of unlearning what never served you and remembering what always did. You see, your brain prefers certainty to uncertainty, even if that certainty is negative. It would rather know for sure that you're not good enough than live in the unknown territory of maybe you are extraordinary. It would rather predict disappointment than be surprised by joy. Doubt feels familiar. It feels like home, even when that home is making you sick. Trust feels risky, foreign, dangerous to a brain that has been trained to expect the worst. But trust is actually the safest place you can live, because trust aligns you with the intelligence of life itself. There's a story about a woman named Serafina who came to one of my workshops carrying a folder thick with medical reports. She'd been to 17 different specialists in 2 years, trying to find out why her body was attacking itself. Autoimmune condition after autoimmune condition. Rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, chronic fatigue syndrome. Her skin was inflamed. Her joints were swollen. Her digestive system was in constant rebellion. During our session, I asked her one question that changed everything. Serafina, when did you stop trusting yourself? She looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Her eyes filled with confusion, then recognition, then tears. Then slowly, like a dam breaking, she began to tell me about her childhood. A mother who questioned her every choice because she wanted to protect her from making mistakes. A father who corrected her every word because he wanted her to be articulate and intelligent. Teachers who told her to doubt her answers and check them 3 times before turning in any test. Bosses who made her second-guess her competence because they wanted her to be thorough. By the time she was 52 years old, Serafina had become an expert at doubting herself. She doubted her choices in men, which led to 3 failed marriages. She doubted her parenting decisions, which created anxious children who learned to doubt themselves. She doubted her career moves, which kept her in jobs that drained her soul. She doubted her dietary choices, her intuition about people, her right to set boundaries, even her right to take up space in a room. And her body, being the faithful servant it is, was simply mirroring back her internal state. The inflammation in her thoughts had become inflammation in her flesh. The attack on her self-worth had become an autoimmune attack on her cells. Her body was doing on the outside what her mind had been doing on the inside for decades. Now breathe deeply and let your heart expand as you hear this truth. Feel how these words are landing in your body, because understanding this connection is the first step toward freedom, the first step toward healing, the first step toward trusting yourself again. When you begin to treat yourself with the same kindness you would show a frightened child, when you start speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love dearly, when you choose trust over doubt, compassion over criticism, love over fear, your body receives a completely different signal. Instead of, you are under attack, it hears, I am safe, I am loved, I am worthy of my own compassion. Instead of producing stress hormones, it begins producing healing hormones. Instead of contracting in defense, it begins expanding in trust. Instead of using all its energy to protect you from yourself, it can use that energy for what it was designed to do: repair, restore, renew, and thrive. If this is shifting something in your perspective, if you're beginning to see the pattern in your own life, if you're recognizing how doubt has been running the show while you thought you were being careful or wise or responsible, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Because what I'm showing you here is just the beginning. There are layers to this healing that we're only starting to uncover. The first layer of resistance you'll encounter when you begin this work sounds like this: But what if I trust myself and I'm wrong? What if I make a mistake that hurts someone? What if people think I'm selfish or arrogant? What if I fail spectacularly and prove that I really can't be trusted? These are not your thoughts. These are inherited fears. Voices from the past that were once trying to protect you but now keep you imprisoned in a cage of doubt. They belong to people who were afraid of their own power, their own wisdom, their own magnificence. And they passed that fear to you like a genetic inheritance you never asked for. But genetic inheritances can be refused. Family patterns can be broken. The fear that was handed down to you does not have to be handed down to the next generation. The cycle of doubt can end with you. Right now, breathe deeply and soak in this understanding. Feel how your heart expands when you realize that you are not broken, that your guidance system is not defective, that your worth is not dependent on never making mistakes. Place your hand on your heart and feel the intelligence that beats there. This intelligence has never doubted. It has never questioned whether it deserves to sustain you. It simply does its job with perfect trust in the process of life. You can learn from your heart. You can trust like your heart trusts. You can love like your heart loves, unconditionally, unreservedly, without doubt. Now that you understand why doubt has been running your life, now that you can see how it infiltrated your nervous system and convinced you it was keeping you safe, I want to give you 3 specific practices that will help you build a completely new relationship with your inner voice. These aren't just exercises, they're medicine. They're the antidote to a lifetime of self-doubt. They're the bridge that will carry you from questioning everything to trusting what matters most. The first practice is something I call the mirror of truth. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you start your day, before anyone else's voice enters your consciousness, before you give your energy to the world, I want you to stand before your mirror and look into your own eyes. Not at your hair, not at your skin, not at what you think needs fixing. Into your eyes, the windows of your soul, the place where your deepest knowing lives. Place your hand on your heart and say these exact words. I trust you. I believe in you. You have never led me astray. You know things that my mind hasn't figured out yet. You feel things that my intellect can't analyze. You are wiser than you know and stronger than you believe. I trust you completely. Say it until you feel it. Say it until the little girl or boy inside you, who has been waiting their whole life to hear those words, finally receives them. Say it until the part of you that has been doubting for so long remembers what trust feels like in the body. Say it until you see your own eyes soften with recognition and love. Octavia, a teacher from Memphis, told me that the first time she tried this practice, she couldn't get through the words without crying. She realized she had never once in her 48 years looked at herself with love. She had spent decades avoiding her own gaze, afraid of what she might see there. Judgment, disappointment, criticism, failure. But when she finally met her own eyes with kindness, when she spoke to herself the way she would speak to a beloved child, she said it felt like coming home to herself after a lifetime of exile. She discovered that the person in the mirror wasn't her enemy, wasn't her critic, wasn't someone to be ashamed of or disappointed in. The person in the mirror was her oldest friend, her most faithful companion, her wisest teacher, the one who had walked every step of her journey with her, who had survived everything she had survived, who had loved what she had loved and lost what she had lost. The second practice is what I call the letter of forgiveness to your doubt. I want you to take out paper and pen, not your computer, not your phone, but actual paper and actual pen. There's something about the physical act of writing that connects hand to heart in a way that typing cannot. I want you to write a letter to that part of you that has been doubting, but not with anger or frustration, not trying to get rid of it or destroy it or shame it into submission, with compassion, with understanding, with the tenderness you would show to any frightened creature who was trying its best to keep you safe. Write something like this. Dear part of me that doubts, I see you. I understand you. You learned to question everything because you were hurt when you trusted too easily. You learned to doubt because someone made you believe that your instincts were wrong, that your feelings didn't matter, that your wisdom was foolish. You learned to seek approval from everyone else because you were taught that your own opinion wasn't enough. You have been working so hard to protect me, and I want to thank you for that. You have been vigilant and careful and thorough. You have tried to keep me from getting hurt again, but I want you to know that I'm safe now. We're safe now, and I'm ready to learn to trust again, one small step at a time. I'm not going to abandon you or ignore you. I'm going to love you back into wholeness. I'm going to show you that trust is not dangerous anymore, that wisdom lives within us, and we can access it safely. When you write this letter, when you acknowledge the doubt with love instead of fighting it with force, something miraculous happens. The energy that was locked up in internal warfare gets freed up for healing. The part of you that was afraid to trust begins to feel safe enough to let go. You stop being divided against yourself and start becoming whole. The third practice is your emergency anchor for when doubt tries to take over, because it will. Old patterns have momentum, and they don't dissolve overnight. Anytime you feel that familiar spiral of questioning beginning, anytime you hear that voice saying, "You're not ready, not worthy, not smart enough, not experienced enough, not good enough," immediately place your hand on your heart and say these words with fierce tenderness. I choose trust. I choose healing. I choose love. Do this 3 times. Let it become automatic. Let it become your new default response to fear. Instead of spiraling into doubt, anchor yourself in truth. Instead of asking everyone else what you should do, ask your heart what it knows. Instead of seeking permission from the world, give yourself authorization to trust your own wisdom. Jackson, a carpenter from Seattle, shared with me that this simple anchor saved his marriage. He said he'd been so paralyzed by self-doubt that he was constantly seeking reassurance from his wife. Am I a good husband? Am I doing enough? Do you still love me? Did I say the wrong thing? Should I have handled that differently? The doubt was suffocating their relationship like a slow poison. His wife loved him, but she was exhausted from constantly having to shore up his confidence, from always having to convince him of his worth. She couldn't be his therapist and his partner at the same time. She couldn't fill a void that only he could fill. But when he learned to anchor himself in self-trust, when he stopped asking her to validate his every move and started trusting his own judgment, when he stopped seeking her approval for his thoughts and feelings and choices, their love deepened in ways he never imagined possible. She could finally relax into being his partner instead of his life coach. He could finally show up as an equal instead of a project to be managed. Place your hand on your heart right now and feel the steadiness there. Feel how your heart has never once doubted its purpose. It has never asked for permission to beat. It has never questioned whether it deserves to sustain you. It simply trusts the intelligence of life flowing through it, moment by moment, breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat. You can learn to trust like your heart trusts, completely, unreservedly, without needing proof or guarantees or permission from anyone else. You can trust yourself the way life trusts itself, naturally, effortlessly, as a way of being rather than something you have to remember to do. Of these 3 practices, which one called to you most strongly? Which one do you sense could create the biggest shift in your life? Which one feels like the medicine you need right now? Trust that first impulse. Trust what your body is telling you. Trust the wisdom that knows what you need before your mind has figured it out. Now that you've felt the power of these foundational practices, now that you've experienced what it's like to speak to yourself with love instead of criticism, I want to take you deeper into the realm of transformational healing. Because healing self-doubt isn't just about stopping negative thoughts. It's about cultivating such a strong, unshakable relationship with your inner wisdom that doubt becomes impossible to maintain. You're going to learn to trust yourself so completely that questioning your worth feels as foreign as questioning whether the sun will rise. You're going to develop such a profound connection to your inner knowing that seeking external validation feels unnecessary and outdated. You're going to embody such deep self-love that doubt simply has no place to take root in your consciousness. The 4th practice I want to teach you is called visualization of your inner light. This isn't just imagination. This is you connecting with the light that has always been there, the light that has never doubted, never wavered, never questioned its right to shine, the light that is your true nature, your divine essence, your soul's unshakable confidence. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. With each breath, let your body soften more completely. Let your shoulders drop, let your jaw relax, let every muscle remember what it feels like to be safe in your own skin. Now imagine a golden light in the center of your chest, right where your heart is beating. This light is warm, radiant, infinitely loving. It's been there since the moment you were born, steady and unchanging, even when you forgot about it, even when doubt convinced you it wasn't there, even when fear made you think you were broken or defective or not enough. See this light growing brighter with each breath. See it expanding beyond your heart, filling your entire chest cavity. Feel how warm it is, how peaceful, how completely trustworthy. This light is your true nature. It's your soul's confidence, your divine knowing, your unshakable trust in the intelligence of life. Let this light expand further now. See it filling your whole torso, your arms, your neck, your head. Feel it flowing down into your hips, your legs, your feet. Every cell in your body is being bathed in this golden light of absolute trust, absolute love, absolute knowing. Now let this light expand beyond your body. See it radiating out from you like the sun, touching everyone you love. Your children, your partner, your friends, your family. See how this light blesses them, how it reminds them of their own light, how it gives them permission to trust themselves more fully. Let this light expand even further. See it flowing out into your community, your city, your country, the world. Imagine this light of trust and love flowing to everyone who has forgotten their worth, everyone who doubts their wisdom, everyone who questions their right to be here. This light is your true nature. It's your soul's confidence, your divine knowing, your unshakable trust in the intelligence of life. Every time you doubt yourself, you're simply forgetting about this light, but it's always there, steady and unwavering, waiting for you to remember. Breathe into this light and say with me, I am the light that trusts. I am the wisdom that knows. I am the love that heals. Feel how your body responds to these words. Feel how doubt simply cannot exist in the same space as this radiant certainty. The 5th practice is the decree of completeness. This is where you claim your power fully, where you stop apologizing for who you are and start celebrating who you have always been. This is where you declare your sovereignty, your wholeness, your absolute right to trust yourself completely. Stand up if you can. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the earth supporting you unconditionally, asking nothing in return. Feel the strength in your legs, the power in your posture, the dignity in your spine as it holds you upright. You're going to make a declaration that reaches into every cell of your being, every corner of your consciousness, every aspect of your life. We're going to do this in 3 stages, each one calling forth a deeper level of truth, a stronger foundation of trust, a more complete embodiment of your authentic power. First, whisper it like a secret between you and your soul. I trust myself completely. Feel those words settling into your awareness, like seeds being planted in fertile soil. Feel your nervous system receiving this instruction, your body relaxing into this new possibility. Now say it with the conviction of someone who knows their worth. I trust myself completely. Feel how your voice carries more authority when you speak from your center instead of your insecurity. Feel how your energy shifts when you claim your power instead of apologizing for it. Finally, declare it with the absolute authority of someone who remembers who they are. I trust myself completely. Feel that declaration reverberating through your body, your energy field, your entire reality. Feel how it changes your breathing, your posture, your presence in the world. Now let me explain the profound science behind what's happening in your body when you do this work. When you move from doubt to trust, when you shift from self-criticism to self-love, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system. This is your body's natural healing mode, the state that allows for repair, restoration, and regeneration. Blood flow increases to your organs, allowing them to function optimally. Your immune system strengthens, preparing to fight any illness or imbalance. Your digestive system relaxes, allowing you to properly absorb nutrients and eliminate toxins. Your creativity awakens as the fear that blocks inspiration dissolves. Your intuition sharpens as you clear the static of doubt that interferes with inner knowing. You literally become more intelligent when you trust yourself, because fear makes you stupid. Anxiety narrows your perception, limits your options, makes you reactive instead of responsive. But trust opens your mind, expands your possibilities, allows you to access wisdom that fear keeps locked away. But here's the part that will astound you. The part that proves this work is not just personal healing, but planetary transformation. When you truly trust yourself, when you radiate that confidence from your core, when you embody unshakable self-love, you become magnetic to trustworthy people and situations. You stop attracting chaos because you're no longer chaotic inside. You stop drawing drama because you're no longer dramatic with yourself. You stop accepting less than you deserve because you know your worth at the cellular level. Life begins to mirror back the trust you're giving yourself. Sage, an artist from Chicago, experienced this in the most beautiful way. She'd been struggling for years to build her art career, constantly doubting whether her work was good enough, whether she deserved success, whether she should even call herself an artist. She spent more time seeking validation than creating, more energy managing her insecurity than expressing her vision. But after 6 weeks of this trust work, after daily practice with these techniques, something shifted that she called miraculous. Gallery owners started approaching her at coffee shops. Collectors began buying her pieces after seeing them on social media. Opportunities appeared that she hadn't even applied for. Doors opened that she didn't know existed. When I asked her what she thought changed, she said, "Louise, nothing in my external world changed except how I saw myself. The art was always good. The vision was always clear. But when I stopped doubting my talent, when I started trusting my unique perspective, when I began showing up as an artist instead of apologizing for being one, the world started trusting my work too. It was like the universe was just waiting for me to believe in myself first. You have this same power. Right here, right now, you have the ability to shift from doubt to trust, from contraction to expansion, from fear to love. The question isn't whether you're capable of healing. The question isn't whether you deserve to trust yourself. The question is whether you're willing to stop standing in the way of the miracle that's trying to reach you. I want to be completely honest with you about what this journey from doubt to trust looks like. Because healing happens gradually, but the milestones are unmistakable. When you begin to trust yourself, your life doesn't transform overnight, like in the movies. But it changes in ways that will take your breath away, in ways that will convince you that miracles are not only possible, but inevitable when you align with your true nature. In the first 3 days of practicing these techniques, you'll notice something subtle but profound. You'll catch yourself before you spiral into that familiar pattern of doubt. That automatic voice that usually says, "You can't do this," or "You're not qualified," or "Who do you think you are?" will still speak, but for the first time, you'll hear it. You'll recognize it as just a voice, not the truth. And the moment you hear it without believing it, you'll have choice. That awareness alone will feel like awakening from a dream you didn't know you were having. You'll notice that you pause before automatically seeking someone else's opinion about decisions that are yours to make. You'll catch yourself before you apologize for things that don't require apology. You'll feel a new spaciousness between stimulus and response, between doubt arising and doubt taking over your entire nervous system. By the end of the first week, your body will start to relax in ways you haven't experienced in years. You'll notice that your shoulders aren't permanently hunched toward your ears like you're bracing for impact. Your jaw won't be chronically clenched like you're preparing for attack. Your breathing will be deeper without conscious effort, like your lungs are finally being allowed to do their job fully. You'll sleep better because you're not lying awake replaying all the ways you might have messed up during the day, analyzing every conversation for hidden criticism, questioning every choice you made. Your dreams will become more peaceful, more creative, more inspiring, instead of anxious and chaotic. Delphi, a mother of 4 from Kansas, told me that by day 8, her children started commenting on how different she seemed. Her 8-year-old daughter said, Mommy, you're not worried all the time anymore. You're not asking us if we're okay with everything. You seem like you know what you're doing now. She realized she'd been modeling anxiety and self-doubt for her children without even knowing it, teaching them through her energy that the world was a scary place where you couldn't trust yourself. But as she began to trust herself, her children felt safer to trust themselves too. Her 16-year-old son stopped coming to her for approval about every little decision. Not because he loved her less, but because he could sense her confidence and it gave him permission to develop his own. Her husband stopped walking on eggshells around her moods, stopped trying to manage her emotional state, because she was finally managing it herself. By the second week, you'll make your first major decision based purely on inner knowing rather than external validation. It might be something small, like choosing what to eat based on what your body actually wants, rather than what you think you should have. Or it might be something significant, like finally having that conversation you've been avoiding or taking that step you've been postponing for months or years. You'll notice that you stop asking for permission to live your own life. You'll stop conducting polls about personal choices. You'll stop seeking consensus about matters of the heart. You'll begin to understand the difference between seeking wise counsel and giving your power away to anyone who will make decisions for you. The third week brings visible transformation that others can't help but notice. People will start asking you what's different about you. You seem more confident, they'll say. You seem more peaceful. You seem like you know something the rest of us don't. You'll walk differently, with your shoulders back and your head high, not from arrogance, but from dignity. You'll speak differently, with less apology and more authority. You'll make choices differently, with more speed and less second-guessing. You'll stop asking for approval for decisions that are yours to make. You'll stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand your path and never will. You'll start saying no without elaborate justifications. You'll start saying yes without needing anyone's permission. Tobias, a software engineer from Portland, shared with me that by week 3, his colleagues started coming to him for advice and leadership. They could sense something different about me, he said. I wasn't second-guessing myself in meetings anymore. I wasn't apologizing for having opinions or asking permission to contribute ideas. I started speaking up when I had solutions, and people listened. Not because my technical skills had improved overnight, but because I was finally showing up as someone who trusted what he knew. His manager noticed the change and offered him a promotion that came with more responsibility and significantly more money. When Tobias asked what had shifted in his performance, his manager said, "You started acting like you belong here, like you know you're good at what you do, like you trust yourself to handle whatever comes up. By the end of the first month, you'll have a completely new identity. You'll literally be a person who trusts herself. It won't be something you have to remember to do or work at maintaining. It will be who you are at the core level. You'll look back at the person you were 4 weeks earlier and barely recognize her. The woman who doubted everything, who questioned her worth, who sought validation for breathing, will feel like a character from someone else's story. But here's what I need you to understand about this process. And this is where most people either succeed or fail in their healing journey. There will be moments, maybe even entire days, when the old pattern tries to reassert itself. You'll have a day where doubt feels stronger than trust. You'll question whether this work is really changing anything. You'll wonder if you're just fooling yourself, if you're being naive or irresponsible. This is not failure. This is not regression. This is not proof that you can't change. This is part of healing. Your nervous system is integrating a new way of being, and sometimes it needs to test the old patterns to make sure they really are obsolete. Think of it like your system running a diagnostic to confirm that the upgrade has taken hold. When this happens, and it will happen, don't judge yourself. Don't decide that you're back at square one. Don't throw away all the progress you've made because of one difficult day. Simply place your hand on your heart and remember, I trust myself and I am healing. The trust is stronger than the doubt now. You just need to remind yourself which voice belongs to who you really are and which voice belongs to who you used to be. Here is where most people give up on their healing journey. They hit resistance and think it means they're doing something wrong. They feel the old patterns pulling at them and decide that change is impossible. They interpret temporary setbacks as permanent failures. But you're not most people. You understand that resistance is just old energy leaving your system. You know that healing isn't linear, that it moves in spirals rather than straight lines. You trust the process because you're finally learning to trust yourself. You understand that every time doubt arises and you choose trust instead, you're literally rewiring your brain. Every time fear speaks and you listen to love instead, you're creating new neural pathways. Every time you feel the pull of the old pattern and consciously choose the new one, you're building the muscle of self-trust that will carry you through any challenge life brings. Tell me in the comments, which milestone resonates with you most? Which one can you see yourself celebrating? Which phase of this journey feels like the homecoming you've been waiting for your whole life? Which transformation would make the biggest difference in how you experience yourself and your life? Now let's talk honestly about what really stops people from trusting themselves. Because if we don't address these obstacles directly, they'll sabotage every practice I've shared with you. They'll undermine every moment of progress you make. They'll convince you that this work is for other people, but not for you. That trust is a luxury you can't afford. That doubt is the only responsible way to live. Understanding these obstacles isn't about preparing for failure. It's about preparing for success by knowing exactly what you're dealing with when these voices arise, because they will arise. And when they do, you'll be ready. The first obstacle is the terror of making mistakes. You've been conditioned to believe that if you trust yourself and you're wrong, it proves you can't be trusted ever again. You've learned that mistakes are evidence of your inadequacy rather than stepping stones on your path to wisdom. You've bought into the myth that intelligent people don't make errors, that worthy people always know the right thing to do, that trustworthy people never lead themselves astray. But here's what Louise taught me that changed my relationship with so-called mistakes forever. There are no mistakes, only experiences that teach you to trust more deeply. Every wrong turn leads you to a right turn you wouldn't have found otherwise. Every failure contains the seeds of your next success. Every moment when you trusted yourself and it didn't work out the way you expected is your inner wisdom guiding you toward greater clarity about what does work. When you understand this, when you truly get that the universe is always working for you and never against you, you stop fearing wrong choices and start trusting the intelligence that's guiding you through all choices. You realize that even your mistakes are perfect, that even your failures are exactly what you needed to learn, what you came here to learn. The second obstacle is the addiction to external validation. This one is insidious because it masquerades as wisdom. You tell yourself you're being smart by gathering opinions, responsible by checking with others, humble by not trusting yourself too much. But really, you've become so dependent on other people's approval that your own inner voice feels weak by comparison. You ask everyone else what you should do because you've forgotten that you have access to wisdom that no one else possesses. The wisdom of your own unique path, your own divine blueprint, your own soul's knowing about what's right for you at this moment in your evolution. Other people can give you information, but they can't make your choices. They can share their perspectives, but they can't live your consequences. They can offer support, but they can't give you the experience of trusting yourself. That's something only you can do for you. The third obstacle comes from family patterns that run so deep you might not even know they're there. Maybe you grew up in a home where children were told not to trust their instincts, where your natural impulses were constantly corrected, where asking questions was seen as disrespectful and having opinions was seen as dangerous. Maybe you had parents who meant well but constantly second-guessed your choices because they wanted to protect you from pain. Maybe you learned that trusting yourself was selfish, that thinking for yourself was arrogant, that following your own path was naive and irresponsible. These aren't your beliefs. These are inherited fears, generational patterns of doubt that were passed down like genetic material you never asked for. And what was inherited can be released. What was learned can be unlearned. What was programmed can be reprogrammed. Cordelia, the woman I told you about earlier, who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, discovered that her mother had spent her entire childhood saying, "Don't trust yourself. Trust me instead. I know what's best for you. Your feelings aren't reliable. Your instincts will lead you astray. Her mother meant well. She was trying to keep her daughter safe in a world that felt dangerous and unpredictable. But by the time Cordelia was an adult, she literally couldn't feel her own intuition anymore. It had been so dismissed, so overruled, so invalidated that it went underground. She had lost access to the very guidance system that could have saved her life if she had known how to listen to it. But intuition doesn't die. It just goes quiet. It waits patiently beneath the layers of conditioning for you to remember that it's there, to create space for it to speak again, to trust it enough to listen. The fourth obstacle is perfectionism disguised as wisdom. You tell yourself you're being careful, thorough, responsible, but really, you're using impossibly high standards as an excuse never to trust your own judgment. You demand perfect information before making any choice, perfect confidence before taking any action, perfect clarity before trusting any instinct. But life doesn't work that way. Perfect information doesn't exist. Perfect confidence is an illusion. Perfect clarity is a luxury that real life rarely provides. Wisdom comes from taking imperfect action with perfect love, from moving forward with partial information but complete trust in your ability to navigate whatever comes. Perfectionism isn't about excellence. It's about fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being criticized, fear of being found out as the fraud you imagine yourself to be. But you're not a fraud. You're a human being doing your best to figure out this mysterious, complicated, beautiful experience of being alive. The fifth and deepest obstacle is the belief that you're fundamentally flawed, that there's something wrong with your internal guidance system that makes it unreliable. Somewhere along the way, you decided that other people have trustworthy inner compasses, but yours is broken. Other people can trust their instincts, but yours lead you astray. Other people deserve to be listened to, but you deserve to be doubted. This is the biggest lie you've ever believed about yourself. Your guidance system is not broken. It's been temporarily disconnected by fear, by conditioning, by trauma, by well-meaning people who didn't understand what they were doing. But the connection can be reestablished, the signal can be cleared, the trust can be rebuilt. Sage told me something that brought tears to my eyes when she shared it. She said, "Louise, I spent 40 years believing I was the one person on earth who couldn't trust herself. I thought everyone else got some kind of inner GPS when they were born that I didn't receive. I thought I was defective, that my intuition was broken, that my instincts were unreliable. But when I started doing this work, when I began treating myself with kindness instead of suspicion, I realized my guidance had been speaking to me all along. I just hadn't learned how to listen. I hadn't created the quiet space where it could be heard. I hadn't trusted it enough to follow it. But it was there, steady and patient and wise, waiting for me to come home to myself. Every single one of these obstacles is solvable. Not through force, not through struggle, not through trying harder or pushing through resistance, through gentleness, through patience, through the radical act of treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a beloved friend who was learning to trust again after betrayal. The willingness to heal these patterns is all you need. Willingness opens every door that fear has closed. Willingness invites wisdom to return home to your heart. Willingness is the bridge between who you've been and who you're becoming. As you begin to trust yourself more deeply, as you practice these techniques and integrate these truths into your daily life, your entire reality will start sending you confirmations that this path is real, that this healing is happening, that you're remembering who you truly are beneath all the layers of learned doubt. These confirmations come in waves, starting small and building to undeniable evidence that everything is shifting in your favor. They begin as whispers and grow into shouts of encouragement from life itself. The microsigns come first, subtle but unmistakable once you know what to look for. You'll notice that you hesitate less when someone asks you what you want. Instead of that familiar panic of, "I don't know, what do you think?" You'll find yourself actually having preferences, opinions, desires that feel authentic and clear. Your body will feel lighter throughout the day, like you're not carrying the weight of constant self-surveillance anymore. You'll realize you've stopped monitoring every word before you speak it, stopped analyzing every action before you take it, stopped seeking approval for breathing. Your breathing will be deeper throughout the day because you're not holding your breath, waiting for the next thing to go wrong, not bracing for criticism that may never come, not preparing for rejection that exists more in your imagination than in reality. You'll look in the mirror and see kindness in your own eyes instead of criticism, possibility instead of problems, beauty instead of flaws. Delphi noticed that she stopped apologizing for things that weren't her fault, for things that didn't need apology, for existing in her own life. She'd been saying "I'm sorry" dozens of times a day for years, apologizing for taking up space, for having opinions, for needing things, for being human. But as trust grew stronger than fear, as self-compassion replaced self-criticism, the apologies stopped. She started saying "thank you" instead. Thank you for waiting, instead of "sorry I'm late." Thank you for understanding, instead of "sorry for bothering you." Thank you for your patience, instead of "sorry for being difficult." The shift from apology to gratitude marked a fundamental change in how she saw herself in relation to the world. She stopped seeing herself as a burden to be tolerated and started seeing herself as a gift to be appreciated. The medium signs will astound you with their clarity and consistency. You'll start making decisions quickly and peacefully, trusting your first instinct instead of overthinking until you're paralyzed by options. You'll stop consulting 6 different people before choosing what to wear, what to eat, what to do with your weekend, what to think about situations that only you are living. You'll begin saying no to things that don't align with your energy without elaborate explanations or guilt-ridden justifications. You'll say yes to opportunities that feel expansive without needing a committee to validate your choices. You'll trust your own timeline instead of apologizing for not moving at someone else's pace. You'll notice that you sleep better because you're not replaying conversations, wondering if you said the wrong thing, analyzing every interaction for hidden meanings or secret criticisms. Your mind will be quieter at night because you're not at war with yourself during the day. People will start responding to you differently in ways that seem almost magical. They'll stop offering unsolicited advice because you'll no longer be radiating the energy of someone who doesn't know what she's doing. They'll trust your judgment because they can sense that you trust it. They'll respect your boundaries because you'll finally be setting them clearly and maintaining them lovingly. Children and animals will be drawn to you because they can feel the peace that comes from inner alignment. They're naturally attracted to energy that feels safe, calm, grounded, authentic. When you stop fighting yourself, you become a sanctuary for other beings who crave that same peace. Tobias experienced something beautiful at work that he never could have predicted. He said his boss started giving him more responsibility and independence because she could sense his growing confidence. "It wasn't that I became arrogant or pushy," he told me. "I just stopped undermining myself in meetings. I stopped presenting my ideas like questions that needed approval. I spoke with the quiet authority of someone who trusts what he knows, and people started trusting it too." His colleagues began seeking his input on projects outside his department. His manager started including him in leadership meetings. His clients started requesting him specifically for their accounts. None of this happened because his technical skills suddenly improved overnight, but because he was finally showing up as someone who belonged in his own life. The macro signs will change the entire trajectory of your existence in ways that will convince you that miracles are not only real, but inevitable when you align with your authentic nature. Opportunities will appear that align perfectly with your values, your gifts, your dreams, your soul's true purpose. You'll attract relationships with people who respect your authenticity, appreciate your unique perspective, and support your growth instead of trying to manage or control it. You'll find yourself surrounded by humans who see your worth, celebrate your wins, and hold space for your challenges without trying to fix or change you. Your health will improve in ways that surprise your doctors and delight your body. Physical symptoms that seemed unrelated to self-doubt will begin to heal as you stop attacking yourself from the inside. Chronic headaches may disappear as you stop overthinking every situation. Digestive issues may resolve as you stop churning with anxiety about your worth. Insomnia may lift as you stop lying awake, questioning every choice you've ever made. Muscle tension that you've carried for decades may finally release as your nervous system learns that you are no longer under attack from your own thoughts. Your face will soften, your posture will straighten, your presence will become more magnetic as you embody the truth of who you really are. Zelda, a massage therapist from Austin, told me that after 8 weeks of this trust work, her fibromyalgia pain decreased by 80%. Her doctors couldn't explain it medically because they don't understand the connection between self-love and physical healing. But she knew exactly what had changed. I stopped fighting a war with myself, she said. My body finally felt safe to relax, safe to heal, safe to function the way it was designed to. I realized I had been holding chronic tension in my muscles because I was holding chronic tension in my thoughts. When I learned to think about myself with kindness, my body responded with relief. Your creativity will explode in directions you never imagined possible because fear is no longer blocking the flow of inspiration. Ideas will come more easily, solutions will appear more quickly, innovations will emerge more naturally because you're no longer questioning every impulse before it has a chance to develop. You'll start experiencing synchronicities that feel like love letters from the universe. You'll think of someone and they'll call within hours. You'll need specific information and it will appear in unexpected ways. You'll wonder about a direction to take and signs will guide you clearly toward your next step. This isn't magic or wishful thinking. This is what happens when you're no longer blocking your natural connection to the intelligence of life. When you trust yourself, you align with the flow of creation itself. When you stop fighting the current, you discover it was always carrying you exactly where you needed to go. But here's the most beautiful confirmation of all, the one that will convince you beyond any doubt that this work is real and lasting. You'll reach a point where you realize you haven't doubted yourself in days. Not because nothing challenging happened, but because trust has become your default response to uncertainty. Instead of asking, "What if I'm wrong?" you'll start asking, "What is this situation here to teach me?" Instead of seeking permission from others, you'll trust your own authorization. Instead of waiting for confidence to appear, you'll act from love and let confidence follow. Stay with me in silence for just 5 seconds. Feel the truth of these words, settling into your consciousness, like seeds taking root in fertile soil. Feel how your future self, the one who trusts completely, is already present within you, waiting to be lived fully. These confirmations aren't rewards for good behavior. They're natural consequences of alignment. When you trust yourself, life trusts you back. When you stop fighting yourself, life stops fighting you. When you finally come home to your own wisdom, the whole universe celebrates your return and rushes to support your flowering. Let me tell you about the moment that changed everything for me. The moment when I understood with absolute clarity that doubt wasn't just a personal struggle or a character flaw or something to be managed, but literally a matter of life and death. I was working with a woman named Isadora, 63 years old, who had been given 2 weeks to live. 2 weeks to say goodbye to her husband of 38 years, to her 3 children who had flown in from different states, to her 7 grandchildren who still believed she would somehow find a way to beat this thing. Pancreatic cancer, terminal, stage 4, metastasized. Her oncologist had used words like aggressive and nothing more we can do, and make your peace. Her family had gathered from around the country to say goodbye. Her husband was sleeping in a chair beside her bed, holding her hand even in his dreams. Her children were taking turns reading to her, playing her favorite music, sharing memories of happier times. The doctors had done everything medical science could offer: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, experimental treatments, clinical trials. They had thrown the full arsenal of modern medicine at this disease, but the cancer was winning. Her body was shutting down system by system. Her organs were failing one by one. There was nothing left to try, except the one thing she had never tried in her entire 63 years of living: trusting herself completely. Isadora had lived 6 decades seeking approval from everyone except the one person whose opinion mattered most: her own. She had made every major decision based on what others expected, what society demanded, what seemed safe and acceptable and responsible. She had asked her parents what career to choose, her friends what man to marry, her husband what dreams to pursue, her children what choices to make. And now, facing the end of her life in a sterile hospital room with machines beeping their mechanical rhythms around her, she finally understood what all that doubt had cost her. Not just missed opportunities or delayed dreams, but her very life force itself. At 3 hours and 17 minutes on a Thursday morning, when the hospital was quiet, except for the whispered conversations of night shift nurses and the distant sound of someone crying in another room, Isadora woke up with a clarity she had never experienced in her entire life. She told me later that it felt like someone had turned on lights in a room that had been dark since she was a child. Like a fog that had been obscuring her vision for decades suddenly lifted, and she could see clearly for the first time. She could suddenly see the pattern, the thread that connected every illness, every failed relationship, every missed opportunity, every moment of suffering she had experienced. The thread was doubt. Doubt in her own wisdom. Doubt in her own worth. Doubt in her own right to exist on her own terms. She had lived her entire life as if she were a guest in her own existence, apologizing for being there, seeking permission to stay. But instead of falling into regret, instead of drowning in the tragedy of all those wasted years, something miraculous happened. Something that her doctors still call inexplicable, and her family calls a miracle, and I call the natural result of finally coming home to yourself. She decided to use whatever time she had left, whether it was 2 weeks or 2 hours, to practice complete trust. Not tomorrow when she felt better. Not next week when she had more energy. Not when the pain subsided, or the fear lifted, or the situation became less dire. Right then, from that hospital bed, with machines monitoring her vital signs and her family preparing for her death, she started with the simplest thing. Trusting her body's signals about what it actually wanted instead of what the medical protocol prescribed. When the nurses brought her the standard meal for someone in her condition, bland and institutional, she asked for something else, something her body was actually craving. Fresh fruit, spicy soup, dark chocolate, foods that made her cells sing with recognition and gratitude. When visiting hours ended, and she felt exhausted but everyone wanted to stay and talk, she asked them to leave instead of pretending she had energy she didn't have. When pain came, instead of fighting it with fear and resistance, she breathed into it and asked it what it needed, what it was trying to tell her, how she could love it instead of hating it. Day by day, hour by hour, Isadora began trusting herself in ways she never had. She told her children how she really felt about their life choices instead of pretending to approve of everything to keep the peace. She asked for the music she wanted to hear instead of whatever happened to be playing. She spoke her fears and her hopes and her regrets and her love with an honesty that stunned everyone who knew her. She stopped asking the doctors what she should think about her condition and started asking her own body what it needed. She stopped seeking second opinions about treatment options and started listening to the first opinion that mattered, her own inner knowing about what felt healing and what felt harmful. And then something happened that the medical team still discusses in case study meetings, something that appears in no textbook and follows no known protocol. Something that proves that the connection between mind and body, between self-love and physical healing, is far more profound than science has yet discovered. Her tumor markers began dropping, not slowly, not slightly, but dramatically. Her energy started returning with a vitality she hadn't felt in years. Her appetite came back with a fierce hunger for life that surprised everyone. Her color improved from the gray pallor of someone preparing to die to the rosy glow of someone remembering how to live. The scan that was supposed to show progression instead showed improvement, not minor improvement, not stabilization. Radical, unprecedented, medically inexplicable improvement. Tumors shrinking, organs healing, systems regenerating. When I visited her 6 weeks later, Isadora was sitting up in bed, laughing with her granddaughter over a photo album, her eyes bright with mischief as she planned a trip to Italy that everyone had told her she'd never be able to take. Her voice was strong. Her presence filled the room with something I can only describe as radiant peace mixed with fierce joy. She looked at me with those bright eyes and said, "Louise, I spent 63 years dying by degrees because I didn't trust myself to live. I thought if I could just be good enough, careful enough, selfless enough, Then maybe I would deserve to be here. But I was backwards. The moment I started trusting myself, my body remembered how to heal. The moment I started loving myself, life started loving me back. The doctors called it spontaneous remission, a term they use when healing happens outside the boundaries of their understanding. Isadora called it coming home to herself. She called it finally meeting the person she was always meant to be. She called it learning to live from trust instead of fear. She lived another 7 years after that day, and they were the most authentic, joyful, creative years of her entire life. Not because her circumstances were perfect, not because she never faced challenges, but because she finally trusted herself to navigate whatever came with wisdom and grace. I'm telling you this story because I want you to understand something that could change your life as profoundly as it changed Isadora's. You are not too late. You are not too damaged. You are not too far gone. You are not the exception to the rule of healing. The same intelligence that helped Isadora's body remember how to heal is available to you right now. The same trust that transformed her life is waiting to transform yours. The same love that called her back from the edge of death is calling you back from the edge of doubt. You made it this far. 51 minutes of listening, learning, feeling, choosing trust over fear. You didn't leave when doubt whispered that this wouldn't work for someone like you. You didn't close this video when fear suggested that healing was for other people, stronger people, worthier people. You stayed. You listened. You felt the truth in these words resonating in your bones. That isn't accident. That is your soul recognizing truth and refusing to let fear talk you out of it one more time. That is your heart choosing trust, despite a lifetime of conditioning that taught you doubt was safer. Right now, in this moment, you are closer to complete self-trust than you have ever been. Can you feel it? That quiet knowing that you are enough, that you always have been enough, that you came into this life with everything you need to live it beautifully? The part of you that doubts is not your enemy. It's a frightened child who learned that trust was dangerous, that love was conditional, that safety required constant vigilance against your own instincts. But you are the adult now. You are the one with the power to hold that frightened part and say with infinite tenderness, I've got this. We're safe now. We can trust again. We can trust ourselves. Place your hand on your heart and feel the power that has always been there. Steady and strong and completely trustworthy. Feel the strength that has carried you through every difficulty, every heartbreak, every moment when you thought you couldn't go on. Feel the wisdom that has guided you through every confusion, every crossroads, every decision that seemed impossible to make. Feel the love that has sustained you through every doubt, every fear, every night when you questioned your worth and wondered if you belonged here. This is your moment of reclaiming what was always yours. This is your moment of coming home to the truth you knew before the world taught you to doubt it. This is your moment of stepping into the identity you were born to embody, but forgot you had permission to claim. We're going to speak 3 decrees together, each one calling forth a deeper level of truth, a stronger foundation of trust, a more complete embodiment of your authentic power. Feel the authority in your voice as you speak these words. Feel the certainty in your heart as you claim these truths. Feel the power that flows when you finally stop apologizing for who you are and start celebrating who you have always been. First, whisper this like a sacred secret between you and your soul, like a vow you're making to the most important person in your life, yourself. I trust myself completely. Feel those words rippling through every cell in your body like gentle waves of warmth and recognition. Feel your nervous system receiving this new instruction after years of being told to question everything. Feel your heart opening to a truth it has been waiting to hear for so long. Now speak it with the voice of someone who knows her worth, someone who has remembered her power, someone who trusts the wisdom that flows through her. I trust myself completely. Feel how your posture shifts as you speak with conviction instead of apology. Feel how your breathing deepens when you claim your authority instead of seeking it from others. Feel how something ancient and wise within you says, yes, this is who you really are. And now decree it with the full authority of your divine nature, with the absolute certainty of someone who has finally come home to herself. I trust myself completely. Feel that declaration reaching into every corner of your being, dissolving every trace of doubt, establishing trust as your new foundation, your new identity, your new reality. Feel it reverberating through your energy field and out into the world, announcing to everyone and everything that you are no longer available for doubt. Now we're going to claim who you are at the deepest level of your being, 3 times, with growing power, with absolute certainty. First, whisper like you're sharing the most beautiful secret. I am the one who trusts. Say it clearly with the voice of recognition. I am the one who trusts. And now declare it with the voice of absolute knowing, the voice of someone who has finally remembered her true nature. I am the one who trusts, and I am healed. Feel that identity settling into every fiber of your being like warm honey flowing into every cell. You are not someone who is trying to trust. You are not someone who hopes to trust someday when you feel worthy enough or wise enough or healed enough. You are the one who trusts. This is who you have always been underneath the layers of learned doubt, beneath the conditioning that taught you to question your own wisdom. Do you remember the question I asked you at the very beginning of our time together? About how doubt whispers loudest just when you're about to step forward into something beautiful. Now you know the answer with the clarity of someone who has walked through the fire of transformation and emerged whole. Doubt speaks loudest when trust is about to break through. Doubt gets desperate when it realizes its time is over. Doubt becomes most aggressive when it senses that you're finally ready to live from love instead of